Please subscribe to the channel to watch the latest videos.
Hello Patriots, I'm at Restored Republic via a GC.R. Pending all-out nuclear World War III, White Hat military enforcement of martial law across the globe. Global currency reset. A dark winter was predicted during 2024, and it's only wise to be prepared and store several months' worth of cash, water, food, and essential items for yourself and to help others. Judy note, on Thursday, November 2nd, Hezbollah announced they would continue the war, including attacking Americans, while Israel issued an urgent global travel warning for all citizens traveling anywhere in the world, all done just as a South Carolina nuclear plant was attacked. To add more fuel to the fire, on Thursday, the House Financial Services Committee passed a bill to prevent the bankrupt deep state cabal Federal Reserve from creating a central bank digital fiat currency. Around the same time, U.S. military aircraft were deployed all over the U.S. National Guards were called up, along with 1 million body bags to all 50 states, while VIPs of the new constitutional republic were flown to the military protection of Cheyenne Mountain. The next day, on Friday morning, November 3rd, 6 major banks were cyber-attacked, but could they just be preparing to switch over to the global currency reset? Well, a global currency reset window was opened from then until Tuesday, November 7th. The storm, exposure, and incarceration of the deep state cabal elite was predicted to press forward big time on Thursday, November 10th, with martial law, including loss of internet access, expected the next day on Friday, November the 11th. So where is the fake news mainstream media in all of this? Absolutely, eerily quiet out there. At 4:30 a.m. Thursday, November 2nd morning, a massive number of U.S. military aircraft were deployed over the continental U.S. By Thursday afternoon, VIP jets from Washington, D.C. were on their way to the Cheyenne Mountain Underground Complex in Colorado. And on Thursday evening, November 2nd, a South Carolina nuclear power plant was attacked. On Friday, November 3rd at 8 a.m., there was an apparent cyber attack on 6 major banks: J.P. Morgan, Truist, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, and U.S. Bank. All began experiencing widespread disruptions, outages, and apparent cyber attacks on Friday, November 3rd. Wells Fargo, J.P. Morgan, and Bank of America customers reported major issues with their deposits and withdrawals. Banks reported that payrolls have not been deposited, stating the problem was with the Federal Reserve. Wells Fargo ATMs were down. Bank of America warns of deposit delays impacting multiple banks. No issues with credit unions. Q-Post. Martial law on Friday, November 11th. So moving back to the future on 11/11 puts us 8 days away on the Gregorian calendar. Q-Post 3:16 says martial law starting on the 11th. There's also a Q-Post that says America will be unified again, 11/11/18. I hope this brings some comfort on how close we really are for this madness to be over. Now we just sit back and watch it play out. I remember back in October, Whit posted that this was done in 30. I hope he meant 30 days, which I think would have put us around the 20-ish days. Text 6668. The storm, Thursday, November 10th to Sunday, November 19th. The prophecy of chaos. Are you ready for the ultimate awakening? The storm is brewing, set to unfold from November 10th to November 19th, 2023, AMG News. Apparent timeline. On Thursday, November 2nd, Donald Trump posted "It's time" and stated that the biggest event we will have in this country will happen this month of November 2023. Saturday, November 4th, when President Trump said the next 78 days would be ones to be remembered, it took us to Saturday, November 4th, the same day that bond people have been told they would have liquidity. Sunday, November 5th, Remember, Remember, the 5th of November, is a poem by Guy Fawkes and an annual commemoration observed on November 5th, primarily in Great Britain, that involves bonfires and fireworks displays. The phrase is often used to predict events of the Q movement. Friday, November 11th, martial law. Q post 316 says martial law starting on the 11th. Another Q post says America will be unified again, 11/11/18. The storm Thursday, November 10th to Sunday, November 19th. The prophecy of chaos. Are you ready for the ultimate awakening? The storm is brewing, set to unfold from November 10th to November 19th, 2023, AMG News. Get ready for EBS activation. Q says that after Argentina's election on Sunday, October 22nd, everything would change and the world would soon have no internet for a while. We are approaching that timeline. Get ready for it, Q. And bombshell, EBS activation on October 22nd. Biden's retirement, Trump's return, and the White Hat's plan revealed. Starting January 1st, 2024, the fiat US dollar would be replaced by the gold asset-backed US note. All such gold asset-backed currencies across the globe would be on par, one-to-one with each other. Social Security benefits will be much higher, and the SSR&R payments would start on a monthly basis. In the next 3 to 6 months, the Rodriguez Trust will begin to administer universal basic income for citizens of all GC.R-compliant countries. The amount per individual or family will depend on the status, needs, employment level, and age of the person, family, and will work to encourage people to work if they can. Global Currency Reset. Friday, November 3rd, TNT. A lot of things are happening that pertain to the RV. Banks received memos on Wednesday, Thursday, and today in black and white. The event is happening. Banks were told that things are in motion ahead of them and yet going by levels and waiting to get to them, but it's in motion. Yesterday, Tony had the champagne out and ready because he was given a 2-hour window last night. There's another 2-hour window tonight. He's just been told the window, but he cannot tell us. But it is supposed to go tonight, Friday, November 3rd to Saturday, November 4th. His tonight means anytime between 4 p.m. until 8 a.m. Rates are great. Banks are ready. A 3-letter agency brought their people in last night thinking it was going to go. Hoping it's tonight. Everyone is on alert. Banks, agencies, and Treasury. Friday, November 3rd, 10:42 a.m. Dubai International Financial Center gave green light for XRP. Watcher.guru News. Friday, November 3rd, TNT, Ray-Ren 98 on Nader from the Middle East and Claire's bank staff received get ready memos this morning. Friday, November 3rd. They've been excited all day. Mark Z. Bond folks are still saying they expect theirs on November 4th. I hear the 5th is huge from a number of sources. That would make sense if they go late on the 4th and unleash us on the 5th, but who knows? Friday, November 3rd from Texas Snake. Remain alert. Keep your phones charged and watch for alerts. Sunday, November 5th into Monday, 6th of November, as a 72-hour window for Iraqi dinar to be once again recognized by the necessary world banks to be a tradable currency once again. Thursday, November 2nd, Bruce. 2 different banks reported that the window for exchanges to start was from now to Tuesday, November 7th. The window for notification to make exchange redemption appointments were from after 5 p.m. Friday, November 3rd to Tuesday, November 7th, mid-morning. Other sources said notifications and appointments should occur in the next couple of days. The age 62 and over restitution allowance starts activation this weekend. With monies in your account near your SS date, the SS increase in your payment should also be in your SS payment. Art on Telegram. Okay, guys, I sat down with one of my bank's branch managers today. They are Basel 3 and 4 compliant. I asked her about the RV, and she said she just got an email coming through that said the Tuesday, November 7th. She's checking in with her higher-ups, getting back to me. Her response was, "How do you know all this?" And Wednesday, November 1st, in Kurdistan, the Kurdistan regional government has announced its decision to exclusively adopt the Iraqi dinar for all transactions at border crossings and airports, effective on Wednesday, November 1st. Tuesday, October 31st, Mr. Salvage on Telegram. There was a report that the paymaster of New York, Michael J. Rubin, said that everything was done. All money was in all banks and ready to go. All codes were in. The nation of Colombia was already liquid. Just have patience. We are there. No digital currency for the deep state cabal's central banks. On Friday, November 3rd, the House Financial Services Committee passed a bill to prevent the Federal Reserve from creating a central bank digital currency. And Friday, November 3rd, QFS News. All banks are transitioning over into the QFS. Start getting hold of the ISO 20022 XLM and XRP. 7 billion people will inevitably transition to the QFS. Recent GC.R history. Overnight, Sunday, October 15th, the banks completed the remaining layers of payments, plus the IMF and World Bank held their last meeting. By Monday, October 16th, the Iraqi dinar had revalued and began trading on the back screens of the Forex. On Thursday, October 26th, President Trump said the next 7 to 8 days would be ones to be remembered. And on Friday, October 27th, the U.S. began pulling 3,600 U.S. troops out of Iraq, so Iraq could declare themselves a sovereign nation, while the new rate of the dinar was said to have gone international, although had yet to show on the front screens of the Forex. Friday, October 27th, from Alex Collier, the dinar went international on Friday the 27th of October, and on that same Friday they began pulling 3,600 U.S. troops out of Iraq, so Iraq could declare Iraq a sovereign nation. 2 days ago, President Trump said the next 7 to 8 days would be ones to be remembered. Craig Wilson, on Monday, October 30th, it was reported that about a week ago, the Iraqi GOI and the CBI released to the U.S. Treasury the new international exchange rate. This came from an Iraqi bank partner of a bank here in the USA. It is also believed that the U.S. Treasury has started some exchange steps with the CBI of some of the Iraqi dinar that the U.S. Treasury holds in its reserves. Sorry, it's not on ABC or NBC or any fake stream news yet, but it is from a source that IMO has credible information. That is all. Carry on. Around Monday, October 30th, the country of Colombia revalued their currency. So now we have at least 2 countries, Iraq and Colombia, which have revalued their currencies, perhaps more. And October 31st, All Hallows Eve, was when children were raped and sacrificed in honor of Satan. It was the day that Israel lost corporate status, meaning Israel Inc. was bankrupt, along with other corporations of the cabal, and no longer considered a nation, all of which, along with Middle Eastern nations, no longer accepting the fiat petro US dollar for oil trade, was expected to soon cause a devastating stock market crash, bringing in the need for a global currency reset. Global financial crisis. Friday, November 4th, credit crisis is about to trigger a flood of bankruptcies as banks warn about serious risks. And the world's largest pension fund reported a $4.5 billion loss for the quarter. Which pension fund is this? Japan's state pension fund. The movie is getting good. People are significantly underestimating the monetary mess in Japan. And on Friday, November 3rd at 8 a.m., there was an apparent cyber attack on 6 major banks: J.P. Morgan, Truist, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Chase and U.S. Bank. All began experiencing widespread disruptions, outages, and apparent cyber attacks on Friday, November 3rd. Wells Fargo, J.P. Morgan, and Bank of America customers reported major issues with their deposits and withdrawals. Banks reported that payrolls have not been deposited, stating that the problem was with the Federal Reserve. Wells Fargo ATMs were down. Bank of America warns of deposit delays impacting multiple banks. No issues with credit unions. And Bank of Montreal was having issues today also for mobile. Are the banks beginning to collapse? Restored republics. Friday, November 3rd, Trump post 316 Q316 says martial law on 11th, Saturday, November 11th. Tom Clancy started writing The Hunt for Red October on 11/11. And Friday, November 3rd, Wolverine got a call from a friend this morning. He's been called up and can't say where, but it's stateside and all 50 states will be occupied. He said they have ordered up 1 million body bags, but couldn't elaborate on that. He's very credible. Friday, November 3rd, Israel issued an urgent global travel warning for all citizens traveling anywhere in the world. And Friday, November 3rd, White Hats and military intelligence indictments begin. AMG News. Friday, November 3rd, Trump is candidate for new U.S. constitutional republic. The real news for Friday, November 3rd, 2023. On Friday, November 3rd, Fox News has done a 180 in less than 24 hours. Yesterday, they were listening and being sympathetic. Today, they're cutting off anyone spewing BS, providing facts against their lies, and calling out all social media, mainstream media, and newspapers for publishing lies, and they have very little patience for anyone in the Biden administration that they're interviewing. This should have happened long before now, but I'll take it. Friday, November 3rd, multiple U.S. banks were hit by deposit delays caused by an error at a payment processing network, according to the Federal Reserve. The House approved $14.5 billion in military aid Thursday for Israel, a muscular U.S. response to the war with Hamas, but also a partisan approach by new Speaker Mike Johnson that poses a direct challenge to Democrats and President Joe Biden. In a departure from norms, Johnson's package required that the emergency aid be offset with cuts in government spending elsewhere. That tack established the new House GOP's conservative leadership, but it also turned out that what would typically be a bipartisan vote into one dividing Democrats and Republicans. Biden has said he would veto the bill, which was approved on a largely party-line vote and because it didn't contain aid for Ukraine. Johnson, representative from Louisiana, said the Republican package would provide Israel with the assistance needed to defend itself, free hostages held by Hamas, and eradicate the militant Palestinian group. Accomplishing all of this while we also work to ensure responsible spending and reduce the size of the federal government. And Friday, November 3rd, boom, the IRS problem, the $14 billion tab, Gitmo, non-compliance, AMG News. Smart TV provides access to the government, psychos, and their agencies' view into your room and listen through the mic in the smart TV. And Friday, November 3rd, November's explosive predictions from Il Donaldo Trumpo's cryptic message, Vincent Kennedy's Twitter departure, U.S. Marines canceled ball, and to unprecedented political subpoenas, AMG News. Friday, November 3rd, a message to all Palestinians from Health Ranger. A message to all Palestinians. As an American, I'm ashamed of what my government is doing to your people. The Biden administration and its war-hungry State Department officials have green-lighted genocide carried out by Israel against your families, elderly, and children. U.S. weapons are used by the IDF on U.S.-made fighter jets to drop bombs on refugee camps, hospitals, mosques, and residential buildings. These are atrocities, war crimes, knowingly committed in violation of international humanitarian law and the Geneva Convention. If the world were truly just, Netanyahu, Blinken, Nuland, Biden, and other top officials would be indicted by the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity, and both the United States and Israel would be stripped of UN recognition and declared terror states, for that is what they have both become. I pray for peace, humanitarian assistance, and a true accounting for those who are complicit in these atrocities, crimes against humanity, and we shall not be intimidated into silence by Zionists, whose entire philosophical foundation is based on racial supremacy and genocidal violence against others. May God protect the innocent and reveal the guilty for all the world to see. Friday, November 3rd, the Yorkshire Last News Roundup this week. White hats are putting everything in place on the chessboard, and I believe Assange is going to be the trump card that will reveal a lot of truth bombs. booms. Big that Tucker interviewed Assange in Belmarsh, UK yesterday. We know he has already been pardoned by CIC and the Constitutional Republic President Trump. Behind the scenes, Assange is safe. Trump's new Speaker of the House in place, Pelosi subpoenaed, Biden impeachment coming, Sam Bankman FTX found guilty of fraud, massive connection to the Democrat Party, an 11.3 marker coming, Podesta. Matthew Perry Chandler from Friends, dying in a hot tub, has revealed he had thousands of emails deleted on his laptop and posted Batman comms on his Instagram before his death. Rachel Chandler mentioned in the drops, client list coming, and General Flynn said that some members of the House and Senate are compromised by globalists who blackmail DC politicians along with Hollywood, etc., are on the Epstein and Maxwell client list. Dan Scavino comms, latest one, posted on 11.3. 11.3 on X is Enter Sandman, music on his video with the Batman logo lit up in the sky. Western armies heading to Israel. That's in Jerusalem, biblical. China continues sending ships and aircraft near Taiwan. Iraq joining BRICS and will be stopping withdrawals and transactions in dollars from the 1st of January 2024. Iraq is the start and linchpin of the revaluation. The Japanese yen continues to decline. The U.S. debt is growing faster than the economy. Elon Musk is rolling Starlink out everywhere and red-pilling the masses on X. Elon says that AI will kill people while the deluded and high on drugs, the West, says AI could be a great thing. And governments around the world dissolved via devolution. Big Pharma losing shares and stocks continue to dive as people are not taking the bioweapons and other drugs. Also, Big Pharma facilities closing down, causing massive layoffs. Charles Anal Schwab Corporation lays off about 2,000 employees, says this will affect the legacy of the Anal Schwab Corporation. And top Swiss banker Pascal Najadi has called for the arrest of Klaus Schwab and other corporate elites and unelected globalist bureaucrats over allegations of democide by way of mRNA COVID vaccines. Shell to lay off employees. Ford becomes latest automaker to postpone its $12 billion EV investment after saying customers are unwilling to pay a premium for eco cars. Satanic award ceremonies being canceled due to plummeting ratings and pedos being put in the spotlight. Charlie Sausage Fingers and the royal family being exposed and accused of abuses and genocide in Kenya and other colonies. Tampax Charlie says there's no excuse for the abuses in the colonies when he visited Kenya this week with his husband, Camel Toe. Mainstream media admitting Ukraine has lost the war when they reported to the world that the neo-Nazis of the Ukraine were winning massively. Putin blames the West for the conflict in Gaza and says the U.S. needs global chaos. The IRS building has sandbags outside of it, and the U.S. debt clock continues to truth bomb the masses with its cryptic messages telling us the Fed is dead. Inverse Jim Cramer says there won't be World War III, meaning there will be a scare event. JP Morgan stock down after CEO says we'll sell 1 million shares. Lawsuits happening all over the joint. And the latest one is Abercrombie and Fitch being involved in funding a sex trafficking operation. Jack Smith withdraws second subpoena in Trump case, confirming Trump is still POTUS. This is getting confirmed to us every day. And Mike Judas Pence drops out of the 2024 presidential race. Police State movie is released by Dinesh D'Souza. You can feel it building every day. There's no stopping it. Friday, November 3rd, MedBeds. Nikola Tesla invented medical treatments that involve the use of electromagnetism and light to treat a wide variety of disease. The devices would emit oscillating waves of various frequencies consisting of low-frequency pulsing magnetic fields to treat pain acoustic vibration machines to detoxify organs of the body, high-frequency cancer-killing radio waves, and ultra-high-frequency ultraviolet light to create ozone to deactivate viruses. The desire that guides me in all I do is the desire to harness the forces of nature to the service of mankind. Nikola Tesla. Friday, November 3rd, election fraud. Friday, November 3rd, today marks the 3-year anniversary of the most fraudulent presidential election in American history. Joe Biden, who barely campaigned, couldn't get anybody to show up to his rallies, clearly was in cognitive decline, somehow managed to receive the most votes in American history with 81 million, all while losing 18 of 19 bellwether counties and winning only 16% of counties overall. And remember, if you question any of this, you're just an election-denying conspiracy theorist. 2020 election fraud. Multiple New Jersey Dems charged with election fraud crimes involving mail-in ballots. In 2023 election fraud in Connecticut, judge orders new primary election after seeing videos showing possible ballot stuffing. The election set to continue as planned despite 11th hour court order. A Connecticut judge has dismissed the results of a Democratic mayoral primary election in the state's largest city and ordered a new election to be held after video surveillance captured people placing multiple absentee ballots into outdoor collection boxes. Friday, November 3rd, the corrupt FBI, White Hat Intel. FBI, Russiagate, Crossfire Hurricane, Steele Dossier, ties to British and Chinese IC. Enforcement arm of the DNC was now under command and control of a foreign government. That makes the FBI. When does a PED go public? What is the SCOTUS timing in all of this? Friday, November 3rd, the corrupt CIA. The CIA created Epstein child sex trafficking to blackmail global political and Hollywood elites, U.S. generals and commanders. CIA money laundering operations controlled the U.S. military intelligence. CIA torturing children and mind control experiments, Part 1. CIA torturing, sexually abusing, killing children and mind control programs. And CIA torturing children and mind control experiments, Part 2. CIA torture of thousands of children in mind control experiments, and CIA mind control using 432 hertz versus 440 hertz. Are we being manipulated? It was said that the Rockefeller Foundation had an interest in ensuring that the United States adopted the 440 hertz standard in 1935 as part of the War on Consciousness, leading to control of the musical cult. This theory said that tuning all the music in the world to 440 hertz turned it into a weapon of war. Is this so? There are many serious studies confirming the destructive influence of the 440 hertz frequency on humanity. There are those who dispute the theory, but are they convincing enough or just a handful of dust in the eyes? November 3rd, White Hat Intel. Indictments begin. Epstein, J.P. Morgan, Les Wexner, connections to UK pedophile ring. At the start of the summer, military tribunals were happening in the Virgin Islands at the same time the J.P. Morgan trial that showed connections to the Epstein CIA pedophile ring. The military courts were using the public J.P. Morgan trial to subpoena world elites to the courts, and elites such as Sergey Brin were being debriefed inside the military tribunals and spilling secrets. More indictments have begun with the lawsuit against Abercrombie and Fitch over ex-CEOs' alleged sex abuse of models, sex trafficking. An Abercrombie and Fitch model said that he was forced to perform oral sex in order to land a modeling gig with the fashion brand, as is suing the mall-based teen retailer. David Bradbury filed suit in Manhattan federal court on Friday against Abercrombie, accusing it of enabling former CEO Mike Jeffries to run a sex trafficking operation that is said to have exploited and abused dozens of young men, boys. All this begins in the UK as the White Hat military intelligence was working behind the scenes to bring out the pedophile ring, and corruption through the UK crime rings It's reported from my several sources that the BBC was being forced by the military alliance to start reporting on the pedophile ring stories. More and more evidence will drop by 2024 and collide with U.S. congressional investigations into the Epstein saga. 2024 Trump card year. These new indictments and legal action comes in the wake of a damning BBC documentary in which several young men, including Bradbury, came forward with allegations against Jeffries and the company. Abercrombie profited enormously from the over-sexualized exploitation of young men. Brad Edwards, Bradbury's attorney, who also represented alleged victims of convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, told the Journal. Mike Jeffries, the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, grew up in Los Angeles, California, and has his deep connections to Les Wexner, Macy's, and J.P. Morgan subsidiary companies, including Epstein. It's been revealed that Macy's was financing trips for Congress and the Senate to go down to Epstein Island and have secret meetings. Now, as we all know, Epstein was controlling a worldwide massive pedophile blackmail ring. The CIA Mossad financed him, as Ghislaine Maxwell's father was the billionaire super spy for the Mossad, MI6, and the CIA. Now there was major panic in the world as elites know the storm is coming closer. The military alliance is pushing world governments for indictments against Epstein associates, J.P. Morgan associates. This was all leading to a massive exposure of a worldwide pedophile ring connected to military intelligence agencies and elites government officials. A collision course is in the way that will connect with Congress going after the Epstein files, and Musk X is going to drop massive story direct in the world in 2024 storm. Everyone is preparing for the story of the century, a world pedophile ring connected to world banks, deep state military intelligence, world elites, presidents, governments, Hollywood, and the world entertainment industry. The military in Israel is already planning the removal of Netanyahu, the future tribunals of Netanyahu. The Israeli civil war is coming, and a truth is going to come out of the civil chaos slated for 2024 in Israel. Right now, over 80% of Israelis lost faith in their government, and White Hat military was in the planning stages of a military coup through game theory operations. In 2024, the military White Hats and White Hats in the medical industry and government will release all hidden data on vaccines, tests, deaths, damages, and the agenda of the BlackRock elite investment companies that incentivized, bribed, blackmailed, laundered money through their countries to approve the COVID-19 vaccines. A world riot and protests are going to come in against the establishment in the medical, big pharma, big tech industries that lead to government parties, presidents, prime ministers, and regimes connected to a globalist agenda and control. The depopulation agenda won't be a conspiracy anymore, as U.S. Congress will open up the subjects. All this will collide with the 2024 election interference and past 2020 election interference. This massive incoming storm is going to be painted by the White Hats as a planned military coup by the globalists connected to Obama, CIA, Pentagon, and DOJ, with full control involving the European Union, Canada, Australia, and the world. Friday, November 3rd, Charlie Ward. The power of Jamie Dimon and how J.P. Morgan and the deep state connected to Epstein, who was placed by the CIA, Mossad, MI6 deep state alliance, who created Robert Maxwell, is how the cabal took control of U.S. military intelligence. Their blackmail operations captured U.S. generals and commanders into the deep state system. Operations and world fiat money laundering system was all planned dating back to the early 1900s and the pre-planning of creating the CIA. The real story of how the deep state took control of the world through money laundering operations, the fiat money system, and CIA, Mossad, MI6 deep state intelligence agencies throughout the world, was connected to blackmail operations that included Rockefellers, Rothschilds, and Vatican. The Vatican created the first intelligence agencies in the world, then infiltrated nations and helped create the fiat money and world banking system. In the late 1980s, the Vatican, CIA, Epstein, pedophilia, sex trafficking, blackmail operations began entrapping nations, leaders, and their governments. The financial fiat deep state money connected to J.P. Morgan, Epstein, deep state military intelligence, social media, Facebook, DARPA operations, to the Ukraine war planned by the CIA decades ago was unraveling. And awakening is taking place worldwide. The Epstein saga is only beginning, and Trump plus White Hats plus military alliance plus Cheyenne Mountain holds the keys. The military alliance sent warnings to J.P. Morgan, World Bank's cabal deep state military intelligence that the Epstein case is going to come out. The Virgin Islands lawsuits and subpoenas were only the beginning, and nothing could stop what was coming. There was not enough money to pay off threats or retaliation on the exposure that was coming. It will set off the storm operation arrest wars. And right now, military courts were debriefing several elites connected to Citigroup and the Crown family that runs Chicago, Obama. Everything you were watching on TV was a show. Military operations were moving through classified debriefings. The world's richest and most powerful were being subpoenaed. A warning was being sent globally to the deep state TikTok on the clock. The Biden laptop was directly connected to Epstein, J.P. Morgan, Ukraine Biolabs, virus, FBI, CIA, DARPA operations. Who forced Hunter Biden to take his laptop to a store computer technician? Why did he forget it was there for so long? Why didn't he take his computer to be fixed? To many of his friends who are computer techs, or many of the private technicians that offer secrecy through his father's powerful networks and friends, or to direct contacts Hunter has to MIT, Yale, Harvard techs. Why did Hunter decide to give a common computer technician the laptop from hell that carries U.S. military classified information and pedophilia, money laundering networks and operations, and hundreds of illegal business dealings through the world that connects to treason? Answer: he was forced by military operations. A game theory. How many copies of the laptop from hell exist now? How many did the storekeeper make? How many did Rudy Giuliani make? How many did the FBI make? How many did the CIA make? How did Matt Gaetz get the files? And how did Putin get the files? And Z, who was going to leak it first? Follow the White Rabbit operations in play. Biden, rubber mask, Pelosi actor, Hunter Biden, laptop marker. The hunter becomes the hunted. Q. Friday, November 3rd, Ben Fulford report. Jamie Dimon, the most powerful banker on Wall Street connected to the CIA, World Bank's, J.P. Morgan intelligence communities, was a central key on how the deep state took control of the world. The Jeffrey Epstein lawsuits in the Virgin Islands is connected to Jamie Dimon, and his subpoena is important to the Epstein case. It's important to understand the current case in the Virgin Islands against Epstein and the subpoenas for the most powerful men in the world, as Sergey Brin, Jamie Dimon, etc., as is all a cover story by the military operations who are simultaneously conducting secret hidden military courts that issued the subpoenas to bring in these elites for the briefings and their connections to the Epstein world money laundering, human trafficking, pedophilia, blackmail network that control over 100 countries and their corporations and intelligence agencies. Here's what's happening with Jamie Dimon's connection to the cabal, CIA, Mossad, Epstein, and world deep state system. For people that don't know, Jamie Dimon is the CEO, and he has been since the early 2000s, of J.P. Morgan Chase, one of the biggest banks on Wall Street, and he's considered one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, Wall Street banker today. The U.S. Islands Attorney General Denise George was fired after her filing the lawsuits in the Epstein case, but still the lawsuit was allowed in U.S. courts. Inside the lawsuits, it's confirmed J.P. Morgan allowed Epstein to run sex trafficking networks through their banking system, and Jamie Dimon was aware that Epstein was paying of 6 sex victims, giving large amounts of money to Jean-Luc Brunel. Brunel also supposedly committed suicide in jail, like Epstein, as awaiting trial. Leslie Wexner, LLC, who owned Victoria's Secret and Bath & Body Works. Wexner hired Jeffrey Epstein as his financial manager, beginning sometime in the 1980s and continuing until 2007. Wexner had a very close relationship with Epstein that began in the 1980s and continued until Epstein's death. Wexner was once the main client of Epstein's money management firm, according to Bloomberg. Wexner allowed Epstein to run his business out of a house he owned and resided in, whilst CEO of Victoria's Secret. Wexner is one of 2 men who placed Jamie Dimon into power and position in J.P. Morgan. With the help of Lester Crown, biggest stakeholders in Rockefeller Center, Hilton Hotels, the Yankees, the Bulls, Bank One, Leslie Wexner, and the Crown family merged Bank One with J.P. Morgan and placed Jamie Dimon into power. Dimon was building Citigroup with Sanford Weill that started with Commercial Credit Corporation in 1985 and DataCorp. DataCorp was part of a deep state intelligence community connected to organized crime that moved money laundering operations and created illicit technology transfers that spied on U.S. military intelligence and sold military classified intelligence and weapons to Russia, China, and other countries, including Mossad, MI6, CIA, super spy Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father. Mr. Maxwell's lawyer Samuel Pisar was the father of Antony Blinken. Oh, look, what a connection. The U.S. Secretary of State and Obama's National Security Advisor. The American Committee for Soviet Relations was a think tank that included many of these people, including the Crown family, Armand Hammer, and other crime families. Several of these elites from the 70s and 80s tried to build the first one world financial system and economy and sold U.S. classified weapons and plans to Russia and were working with Russian oligarchs and CIA Pentagon DARPA operations that tried to control banks that senators and Congress used, and financial blackmail traps and ops were placed. These companies and deep state operations, including CIA, Russian oligarchs, elites, Rockefeller, Rothschilds, commercial credit, cops. DataCorp became Citigroup, which controls J.P. Morgan, Wall Street, stock inside of social media, and TV stations. In 1947, a U.S. intelligence agency, the CIA, was established under the National Security Act of 1947. 1950 to 1953, motivated by Soviet, Chinese, and North Korean use of mind control techniques, the CIA originated its first mind control human experimentation program in 1950 under the name Bluebird, which morphed into Artichoke, and then by 1953 was referred to as MK-Ultra. There were 149 sub-projects and another 33 closely related programs in the U.S. and in Canada. In 1977, the Director of Intelligence, Stansfield Turner, described in an affidavit that the program was initiated because the agency was confronted with learning the state-of-the-art behavioral modification at a time when the U.S. government was concerned about inexplicable behavior of persons behind the Iron Curtain and American prisoners of war who had been subjected to brainwashing. The CIA mind control program began with a proposal from Richard Helms, who later claimed CIA director and who was named by MKUltra child victim C as a perpetrator in a 1995 congressional hearing. Helms outlined a special funding mechanism for highly sensitive agency research and development projects that would study the use of biological and chemical materials in altering human behavior. 20 years later, all known files pertaining to MKUltra were ordered destroyed by Richard Helms before he retired and upon his hearing that Congress was going to investigate the CIA program. In the second half of the 20th century, these mind control projects funded by the CIA resulted in extensive political abuse of psychiatry. Many thousands of unknowing victims, mostly innocent children, were subjected to unethical mind control experiments by leading psychiatrists and medical schools. Mind control experimentation was not only tolerated by medical professionals, but published in psychiatric and medical journals. 1951. In 1951, CIA human experimentation was combined with Canada and Britain's mind control programs, which had been functioning since pre-World War II. One such program was on Native and indigent children in government hospitals, according to Kevin Annette's Hidden No Longer. In the early 1900s, German experts were in Canadian provincial hospitals doing medical experiments on indigent Native children as part of a plan to exterminate Native and Indian tribes. For the same purpose, and since the late 1800s, Native children were forced to reside in residential schools operated by the Government of Canada and Roman Catholic Anglican and the United Church of Canada. 1940s to 1950s. In the 40s and 50s, young male children institutionalized at the Fernald School in Massachusetts were fed radioactive cereal. The parents, as well as the children, were simply told they were being fed a diet rich in iron. April 13, 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles approved the MKUltra program. 1950s to 1960s, Dr. Saul Krugman of New York University conducted studies of hepatitis at the Willowbrook State School, an institution for the severely mentally retarded. Krugman and his staff systematically infected newly arrived children between the ages of 3 and 11 with strains of the virus obtained from the feces of Willowbrook hepatitis patients. 1953, a declassified CIA document dated January 7, 1953, describes multiple personalities in 19-year-old girls. These subjects have clearly demonstrated that they can pass from a fully awake state to a deep, hypnotic controlled state by telephone, by receiving written matter, or by the use of code, signal, or words, and that control of these hypnotized can be passed from one individual to another without great difficulty. It has also been shown by experimentation with these girls that they can act as unwilling couriers for information purposes. 1955. CIA Project Paperclip brings Nazi mind control experts into the U.S. By 1955, and under the CIA Project Paperclip, Nazi experts who received their training on human experimentation during the Holocaust were exported into the U.S. for post-war intelligence purposes. CIA Director Allen Dulles had Nazi dossiers rewritten to eliminate incriminating evidence in order for the Nazis to gain U.S. citizenship. November 13, 2010, New York Times. Nazis were given safe haven in the U.S. NewYorkTimes.com. November 13, 2010, New York Times uncovers Justice Department's 600-page report. The above November 13, 2010 New York Times article has a link that reveals a 600-page report by the Justice Department, an internal history of the United States government's Nazi hunting operation, provides evidence about some of the most notorious Nazi cases of the last 3 decades. The Justice Department kept the 600-page report secret for the last 4 years, releasing a heavily redacted version to a private research group that sued to force its release. A complete version was obtained by the New York Times. 1955. It appeared that the CIA was utilizing Hitler's experts on satanic ritual abuse and eventually incorporated U.S. satanic covens to torture and mind-control child victims into multiple personalities. And during World War II, Hitler trained his officers and scientists in satanic ritual abuse, which involved the rape, torture, and murder of children to traumatize child victims into multiple personalities. Nazi officers and scientists were ordered to use these SRA techniques to do human experimentation on adults and children in Nazi concentration camps. The 1995 Congressional Committee on the CIA Mind Control Program found that the CIA utilized religious groups to carry out their experiments. This is believed to mean satanic and Catholic black mass worshippers. The Black Mass is a satanic ceremony designed to be opposite of the Catholic Mass, where victims are tortured, sexually abused, and murdered on altars. In 2007, Extreme Abuse Surveys. The number of survivors who said yes when asked, "I was subjected to ritual abuse, mind control," age and number responding to yes. And you can see here 0 to 2, 481. That's a lot. 3 to 6, 686. 7 to 13 was 677. 14 to 17 was 494. 18 to 30 was 333. And 31 and older, 206. Here are the questions or the statements. I was married to Satan, 419. I was ritually abused in a satanic cult, 543. My ritual abuse originated from my family of origin, 612. I was abused by at least one Catholic priest in connection with specific satanic rituals, 139. I was abused by at least one non-Catholic clergy person in connection with specific satanic rituals, English only, 275. My mind control originated from my family of origin, 410. At least one group that abused me is national or international in scope, 451. And one of my perpetrators went by the name of Dr. Green. I've heard interviews from survivors talking about Dr. Green, which I believe is Dr. Mengele, and it's 124. And remember, green is another term for Satan. Just a little fact there. According to survivors, the head of the CIA mind control program from its early beginning until at least 1984 was a Nazi brainwashing expert known as Dr. Green, believed born around 1926. Green was one of the 760 German experts granted U.S. citizenship after being brought into the U.S. after World War II under the CIA's Project Paperclip. In the foreword to Judy Byington's book 22 Faces, Inside the Extraordinary Life of Jenny Hill and Her 22 Multiple Personalities, Dr. Colin A. Ross, MD, describes Dr. Green. The protagonist of 22 Faces, Jenny Hill, remembers being in a human sacrifice ritual with a brainwashing consultant named Dr. Green. According to many patients with similar memories, Green is a German mind control specialist who came to the United States after World War II. In the 1990s, therapists were accused of implanting false memories of ritual abuse, including recollections of Dr. Green and his alpha, beta, delta, gamma, and omega mind control programming. Raw, Dr. Colin Ross, Robert David Steele. Jenny Hill's witness to a satanic child sacrifice rite, and there's a YouTube video you can watch about that. Warning, Jenny gave a graphic description about how she, at the tender age of 5, was raped, tortured. I can't even imagine what these children have gone through. It's so unbelievable, and I don't know how they survived. Tortured, forced to view a child sacrifice, and saved for divine intervention, was almost killed herself. Not unlike the sordid experiences of thousands of other child victims of satanic worshippers. Perpetrators giving homage to Satan were organized from the U.S. Inc.'s CIA, Queen Elizabeth's Illuminati banking families, and Vatican's Ninth Circle child sacrifice cult, on down to the Clintons, Hollywood, Pizzagate, and local teenage covens. They were funded by the same cabal that ran our global monetary system, the very organization that was in the process of being brought down by activation of the global currency reset and restored republics of the world. It's no wonder that President Trump has stated, these people are sick. Yes, they are. If you're interested in learning more about the CIA's MK Ultra programs, and there are other ones as well, other mind control programs, this is a really good channel to go to. Puzzle Pieces Together. It's on Rumble. And the lady's name is Laura Worley. She's a survivor of MK Ultra, and now she is a therapist, and she helps treat people who have undergone or think they've undergone MK Ultra programming, and she helps free them from the programming. And she has a lot of interesting topics that you can look at. Laura also has a website. It's laurajworley, WORLEY.com. She has a lot more information on her website and contact information, and she has a book on how to heal from mind control. So if that's something you're interested in, please visit her website. Trust the plan to save the world. Leaders of the global military alliance's 7 kingdoms have signed on to the plan. Putin, Russia, Xi, China, Kim, North Korea, Trump, USA, Modi from India, Bolsonaro from Brazil, and bin Salman, Saudi Arabia. A dark winter was predicted during 2024. It's only wise to be prepared and store several months' worth of cash, water, food, and essential items for yourself and to help others. To thrive in life, all you need are 3 bones: a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone. Duty note: there have been 51 intelligence officers caught in collusion with a massive cover-up of corruption in the U.S. government, while in the meantime placing Biden as U.S. president through 2020 election fraud. Now this deep state cabal was trying to start World War III so they could money launder back into their own pockets monies given to support both sides of the war. While a global currency reset was completing, perhaps by Tuesday of next week, the nation was put on high alert, although of course such was not announced to the general public, nor did the mainstream fake media pay any attention this week as the old global financial system went down the tubes. At 4:30 a.m. Thursday, November 2nd morning, a massive number of U.S. military aircraft were deployed over the continental U.S. This has never happened on this scale before, according to Hal Turner News. By Thursday, November 2nd afternoon, VIP jets from Washington, D.C. were on their way to the Cheyenne Mountain Underground Complex in Colorado. Jordan and Saudi Arabia have refused to let Yemen use their airspaces to attack Israel. Yemen declared war on Israel. Bahrain recalled its ambassador to Israel, and Israel recalled its ambassador to Bahrain. Hezbollah has warned Israel to stop the war by 3 p.m. Friday, November 3rd. Sunday, November 5th. Remember, the 5th of November is a poem by Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes Night, also known as Guy Fawkes Day, Bonfire Night and Fireworks Night, is an annual commemoration observed on the 5th of November, primarily in Great Britain, involving bonfires and fireworks displays. The phrase is often used to predict events of the Q movement. The U.S. government is prepping for a potential onslaught of Iranian cyber attacks in retaliation for support for Israel in its conflict with Hamas. On Thursday, November 2nd, Donald Trump posted, "It's time," and stated that the biggest event we will have in this country will happen in this month of November 2023. Thursday, November 2nd, Trump issues emergency martial law dictatorship warning. Pray for peace in Jerusalem. Pray for peace in the world. Timeline. On Thursday, November 2nd, Donald Trump posted, "It's time," and stated that the biggest event we will have in this country will happen this month of November 2023. Friday, November 3rd, Shiite factions in Lebanon linked to Iran have given Israel until 1500, 3 o'clock on Friday the 3rd November to stop attacks on the Gaza Strip. That Friday, November 3rd, appeared to be a highly coordinated date. Saturday, November 4th, when President Trump said the next 7 to 8 days would be ones to be remembered, it took us to Saturday, November 4th, the same day that bond people had been told they would have liquidity. Sunday, November 5th, Remember, the 5th of November, is a poem by Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes Night, also known as Guy Fawkes Day, Bonfire Night, and Fireworks Night, is an annual commemoration observed on November 5th, primarily in Great Britain, involving bonfires and fireworks displays. The phrase is often used to predict events of the Q movement. Get ready for EBS activation. Q says that after Argentina's election on Sunday, October 22nd, everything would change and the world would soon have no internet for a while. We are approaching that timeline. Get ready for it. Cue bombshell. EBS activation on October 22nd. Biden's retirement, Trump's return, and the White Hat's plan revealed. Starting January 1st, 2024, the fiat US dollar would be replaced by the gold asset-backed US note. All such gold asset-backed currencies across the globe would be on par 1-to-1 with each other. Social Security benefits will be much higher, and the Social Security R&R payments would start on a monthly basis. In the next 3 to 6 months, the Rodriguez Trust will begin to administer universal basic income for citizens of all GC.R compliant countries. The amount per individual or family will depend on the status, needs, employment level, and age of the person, family, and will work to encourage people to work if they can. Global currency reset. Thursday, November 2nd, from Bruce. 2 different banks reported that the window for exchanges to start was from now to Tuesday, November 7th. The window for notification to make exchange redemption appointments were from after 5 p.m. Friday the 3rd November to Tuesday, November 7th, mid-morning. Other sources said notifications and appointments should occur in the next couple of days. The age 62 and over restitution allowance starts activation this weekend, with monies in your account near your Social Security date. The SS increase in your payment should also be in your SS payment. Wednesday, November 1st, TNT. The RV was supposed to go last night, so we're just waiting. The IMF and Federal Reserve contacts said the rate should change by November 1st. Banks have been told the same. Announcement of the new Iraqi dinar rate was imminent. Iraq placed lower denominations of dinar at ports and airlines on Thursday, October 26th. Wednesday, November 1st, from Mark Z. A number of contacts, both in and outside of Iraq, said it did go very well this past weekend, and they are expecting an announcement within days. Bond folks are still saying they expect theirs on November 4th. I hear the 5th is huge from a number of sources, and that would make sense if they go late on the 4th and unleash us on the 5th, but who knows. Wednesday, November 1st, Kurdistan. The Kurdistan regional government has announced its decision to exclusively adopt the Iraqi dinar for all transactions at border crossings and airports, effective on Wednesday, November 1st. Tuesday, October 31st, Mr. Salvage on Telegram. There was a report that Paymaster of New York, Michael J. Rubin, said that everything was done. All money was in all banks and ready to go. All codes were in. The nation of Colombia was already liquid. Just have patience, we are there. Tuesday, October 31st, P. Art on Telegram. Okay guys, I sat down with one of my bank's branch managers today. They are Basel 3 and 4 compliant. I asked her about the RV and she said she just got an email coming through that said the Tuesday, November 7th. She's checking in with her higher-ups, getting back to me. Her response was, how do you know all this? Monday, October 30th, Bogota, Colombia, banker Nelson Ruiz. The BBVA Compass Bank is ready. All paymasters have the money and codes are liquid and ready to go. Everyone was positive after the reunion last Tuesday, October 24th